to say we have somebody who you directed in an episode who also interviewed you, Miss Santina Muha.
Santina?
Hey, Phill!
Where are you? I see your beautiful name. There you are.
Hi! How are you, buddy? Oh my God, so good to see you!
You too. This is fantastic. What a reunion. Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm sure everyone knows. Does everyone know our story? Why don't you explain it? Santina interviewed me and then I've directed her, but you go ahead and explain.
Yeah, so.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so one of my first jobs ever in the entertainment industry is I worked for Tiger Beat magazine. And so I would go, and so I would get to go into New York City when I lived in New Jersey and interview different celebrities. And so one day I was covering a Sweet Life of Zach and Cody event, and I went and I got to interview Phill, and it was really cool, and he was really nice and great. And I was always like, I liked my interviewing job, but I always sort of like wanted to be on the other side of it all, right? I wanted to do the acting. So cut to 10 years or so later, I'm doing my first episode of One Day at a Time, and who is directing the episode? Phill Lewis. Isn't it amazing?
Now, you may have to try and find those pictures because
I sent them to David. Don't worry.
Oh, did you? Oh, great.
Yeah, I sent him the side by side.
We'll post them right now.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, Santina is so amazing. Not only did I enjoy being interviewed by her, but she is such a delight to direct because she is so good, so knowledgeable of this industry, and so knowledgeable of the craft of acting. We had so much fun doing One Day at a Time, and we always knew it was great. And Santina, you may not know this, but the executive producers on One Day at a Time would always say, well, okay, here's a funny joke. Well, if so-and-so's saying that, we'll give it to Santina. We know she'll make it funny. We'll give it to Santina.
I love that. No, Phill, I didn't know that. And, as an actor, and I'm sure everybody in here can attest to this, sometimes you doubt yourself, right? You wonder, like, am I funny enough? Why didn't I get that line? That line is so funny. Why did they give it to so-and-so? You doubt yourself. So that's really cool to hear. Thank you, Phill.
Absolutely. And on that point, there's so many variables. There's so many different things that happen during the course of shooting a television show or shooting a movie that a lot of times, for example, and hopefully I explained this to you and to the other cast members, that if there's moments in a scene that you just loved and that were so great and so funny in rehearsal, they may be taken out of a script because of time, because, we don't have enough time to do all of this stuff. So one of my, kind of adages or one thing that I'd like to tell young actors is don't take this stuff personally. Mm-hmm. And I know that's hard to do because as an actor, we're selling ourselves, right? If you're a soap salesperson, if someone doesn't like your soap, you go, okay, they don't like my soap. But if someone we think doesn't like us, we go, oh no, what have we done? But it's not that at all. A lot of times they're going, you know what, her hair may be too long for this, or her hair may be too short for this, or he may be too tall. All of that comes into play. Don't take it personally. And this goes for everyone who's working or wants to work. No one, I guarantee, this is one thing that I know. No one will do it like you. Does that make sense? You all are all individuals. You are very special and unique individuals. No one is going to audition. No one is going to work. No one is going to sing that song the way that you do. So own that. Make that part. Say, this is me. This is who I am. And you don't have to try and be somebody else because you are special and great and wonderful the way that you are. So just know that. Okay? Keep that in your head.
See why he's a great director to work with? Who would want to hear that every day? And the other thing about Phill that makes him a great director is he laughs every time. We appreciate that because when you're rehearsing for a sitcom, it's sort of like you're doing a play for the week, right? You're rehearsing the same jokes over and over and over all week. but Phill will laugh every time, and that makes you feel good because, you know, you don't want to ever feel like, oh, did I not say it funny that time? So he's a great, yeah, he's great.
Well, just know that it is genuine because Norman Lear, if you guys don't know Norman Lear created One Day at a Time. And I know David goes back with Norman years and years and years. But Norman Lear created One Day at a Time and among many other shows. But Norman always says, and he would say when he would walk on set, just remember, laughter extends your life. So,
well, if anyone knows, it's him.
Exactly.
About life extension.
He's 96, I think.
Yeah,
I think
97, I think.
I think he's 98.
Are you serious?
I think he just this last month.
Oh my God! So obviously it works, right?
I know.
So I try to laugh as much as I possibly can.
I would not to.
Okay, yes, I have some questions. My first question is for Santina.
Oh, cool. Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Good. How are you, Santina?
Good, thank you. Good.
You're welcome. My first question for you is, how was it like working on One Day at a Time, being a actress with a disability?
It's really cool. So one thing I really love about One Day at a Time is the fact that it's my dressing room is accessible. It's on the first floor, and I can get into my dressing room and go into craft services, you know, the kitchen. That's a very important part of set, and then get into, you know, when it's my turn to be on set, get on set, and I can do everything because it's all on one floor. And I love that because sometimes I've done other jobs on location where, you know, maybe base camp is not accessible, and so they'll separate me. And I don't want to be separate. You know, as we all know in this field, in our industry, networking is a huge part of it. And you want to hang out with your coworker. And that's what I do. I hang out with my co-stars all day. Me, Nikki, Mackenzie, Hanifa.
Oh, yeah, if I can interrupt, at lunchtime, I would have to walk by Santina's dressing room to get to my dressing room. And it's like a house party going on in there. I mean, there's music, there's food. Santina's got it going on. Okay,
it's true. No, it's true. I really do. I kind of host because we only have maybe 1 or 2 scenes per episode as the support group. So we hang out in my dressing room all day and we talk. Isabella will come in there when she's off. Justina will pop in. Rita will pop in. It's like it's so cool and fun. And yeah, it's a very fun time. So I love that it's accessible. And I love that my character is this vet who, you know, she's in a wheelchair. I guess we assume she was injured in combat, but we never really talk about it much. If it helps the joke, then we use it. If it doesn't, then we don't. And that's good with me. I think it's okay to talk about it when it's funny, but we don't have to talk about it every second. And so I think One Day at a Time does a great balance with that.
I just want to say that you did an amazing job on the last film production for the Disability Film Challenge. It was amazing.
Thank you so much.
I took a picture. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember you.
And she's nominated. Santina's nominated for Best Picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yes.
Oh my word! I know nothing of this. So David, can you hit me to what's going on? This sounds really amazing.
Oh, I will. I mean, it's www.disabilityfilmchallenge.com. They've been doing it 7 years. And Santina, you were up for an award the other year as well, right?
Yes, this is our two years in a row. We were nominated for Best Film. We're really excited, my team and I. We feel like we're when you find people that you like to work with, keep working with them. Keep working with them. Yeah.
Right.
There were the most films this year, 87 films.
Mm-hmm.
And you have 5 days to do it, something like that?
Yes, 5 days. It was insane, and we did it all we didn't leave. Not the 4 of us that worked on our project together left our home. Like we all did it from our own apartments. I in fact sat right here in front of this backdrop. You'll recognize the backdrop from the film. So this is where we did it. But it was so fun and so interesting and cool, and it was cool to take this thing that was happening to me during quarantine and explore it through the film and open up everyone else's eyes to it. And it's getting a lot of great feedback from the disability community and from the non-disabled community, which I think is important because I want to always validate our community and make everyone feel seen and heard. And I also want to educate the non-disabled community and bring them in and bridge the gap because there shouldn't be a gap, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, I'm going to look that up as soon as we're
Okay.
done here. That's congratulations.
Oh,
That's
thank
amazing.
you.
All
Thank you.
the films on YouTube, right? The Disability
Mhm.
Film Challenge.
Yep,
Okay,
they're all
got it.
great. And they're all 5 minutes long, and they're great little bite-sized pieces of talent.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's great. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
And I have one more question for Santina.
Okay.
Who is your favorite muscular actor as being in the industry?
Muscular. I love and he's
Me.
getting his own spin-off now, David. Come on, David. I love Elliot Stabler, you know, from Law and Order SVU.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's getting his own spin-off now, so I'm excited for that. And I one time met Channing Tatum in at Birds in a restaurant in LA. We took a picture together, and he was really cool and really nice and really hot. And I saw Chris Pine the other day do an interview on something, and he was super cool, like really cool. I liked his like, you know, sometimes you someone's hot, so you don't really pay attention to their personality, and then you find out, wow, they're also, which don't do that. That's not right. But I'm guilty. I did it, and now I'm happy to report Chris Pine is also a cool guy besides being hot. So those are some of mine. There's so many more. I can't choose.
Thank you so much, Santina.
You're welcome.
Okay, so my next question is for Mr. Phill Lewis.
Cool. Ready.
Okay. How is it like being married to Megan Bennett?
That is a fantastic question. So here's the reason that I laugh is that my wife Megan she doesn't like having her picture taken. Like we're complete opposites in that way. She is not an actress. She's actually a chef. She was a chef by trade. She went to culinary school, and she used to do private work. She used to cook for celebrities, and she would cook for directors, and she'd make the food and she would deliver the food. And then once our kids were born, she, thank God for her, worked with the kids, stayed at home with the kids. But when the kids started high school, she went back and she got her master's in marriage and family therapy. And then she ended up working at a place, I don't know if you guys have heard of a place called Cheerful Helpers, which is in Koreatown. And it is they don't call it a school, a center. They call it a center for kids that have emotional disorders. So kids that are on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum, but are more high functioning. And so she worked there for a couple of years and really enjoyed that work. And then when the kids, that must have been before the kids were in high school. And then once the kids got into high school, she was back at home because that's a big transition going from junior high to high school. So she wanted to make sure she was home with the girls. So she's she's the pillar, she's the rock of this family. And it's great that, because as you guys know, in working in the entertainment industry, you can have some very long hours. I'm sure some of your rehearsals and things that you guys are doing can seem like they last forever at least. And so it's great to know that that Megan is home with the girls, and that all of us are well taken care of. So it's a joy. It'll be 24 years in December that we've been married, and together almost 29 years.
Oh, I love
I know. Again, I don't look that old. I know.
that.
My last question for you is, I know you're from, I believe it's Uganda or Ghana?
I was born in Uganda. Yeah.
Uganda? Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You may not know, but I'm also from an island country called Belize.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
So I can relate to some, foods that you guys eat from Ghana.
Well,
It's all the same symmetrical food.
Oh, okay. So, well, hopefully you can relate. Now, I will tell you that the the we would have when I was only in Uganda for a very short period of time, and when we came back to the States, I remember growing up in DC, we would eat a lot of Ethiopian food,
Mm-hmm.
and it really, I don't know if you like Ethiopia. I really enjoyed Ethiopian food, but there were sometimes that it was so spicy that I couldn't eat it. And I don't know if it's the same. I'm sure it's the same in Belize, right? There must be really spicy foods. My mother can eat anything. I could put her in a hot pepper challenge and she would win. But I can't eat all of that. The spice is too much for me. But my brothers, I have 3 older brothers, and they all really enjoyed Uganda and Ugandan culture and food. But I was only there for such a short period of time. But being back in the States, Ethiopian food was kind of where we would, kind of get that taste of the continent.
That's great. Now, when did you move? How old were you when you moved to the States?
So I was about a year and a half. So I don't remember Uganda at all. So the backstory is that my father was in the Peace Corps, and he was a regional director in the Peace Corps. So my mom traveled because my dad had to go early to set up different centers there. So my mom traveled from the United States to Nigeria with 3 boys under the age of 5. And then my dad had to stay to evacuate because Idi Amin was coming in. And so my mom traveled. So I was born, and my mom traveled with 4 boys under the age of 7 from Uganda to, we went to France. We went to Paris, actually. So and she still talks to us. But so I was only there for about a year and a half. So I'm obviously an American citizen because I was born on U.S. soil. The hospital was on U.S. soil. So I'm an American citizen. But yeah, I would love to go back, but I haven't been back to the continent. So maybe one day.
So it was an honor interviewing you, and I thank you so much, both of you, Santina and Mr. Phill Lewis. Am I mistaken?
No, that's the name that my mom calls me when she's mad at me.
Philip.
Philip.
Well, thank you both.
Get over here, Philip.
Exactly. Well, thank you.
Thank you,
Such
Jennifer.
a pleasure.
You're welcome. Okay, going on to the next person, David.
Oh, next person. I think that's it. Those 2 right now.
Okay.
But we do have Ashley Lyles and Donovan. Now I know Donovan's been having some internet connection problems, but we're gonna start right now with Ashley, and hopefully we'll get to Donovan as well.
Thank you, David.
Yes.
And I wanted to say to Phill Lewis that I said it earlier, but I really loved you on the Wayans Brothers, and I also loved Sweet Life of Zach and Cody and On Deck. And I wanted to know, what was it like acting with Marlon and Shawn Wayans?
Well, that was quite an adventure because I know when you guys rehearse a show, or if you're working with another actor, you're hoping that they're going to say what's in the script. Well, guess what? Marlon rarely said what was in the script. So he likes to improv quite a bit. And of course, once he starts going, then Shawn would start going, and then that would make me start so it became this kind of crazy improv game that we would do. But it was so much fun. We had a great time. I'm sure I don't have any. Oh, maybe there's some pictures on my phone. I could send David some pictures of my hair being slicked down and my gold tooth and my.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that when I was watching it.
Yeah, so it was so much fun to play and so much fun to do. And then small world. Then I got to direct Marlon in his show for NBC. The show was called Marlon, and I directed, about half of those episodes. So we got to work together again. But
I
it
did
was so
not
much.
know that.
Yeah, isn't that neat? So it was so much fun because, Marlon really teaches you. I don't know if you guys do. I'm sure David does this in one of his areas of expertise is improvisation games and improv. It's such a great way for actors to kind of learn and enjoy comedy.
Phil, I actually taught an improv workshop for David for Meet the Biz because I do improv over at the Upright Citizens Brigade. So
you're a UBC.
Yeah. I mean, yep. Wow. So I went. I think Jennifer was there. Yeah, used to be. I think you were there, right? And I don't remember. I think a few people. It was really fun. But I agree. Improv is great. It's a great tool to have because it helps take away some of the panic of if you drop a line or if your co-star drops a line.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, Marlon and Sean taught me a lot about improvisation. So it was so much fun to work with them. Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
I remember Cynthia talking about a guy with their shirt off.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Maybe is that why you asked me that question today?
I also wanted to know if I can, at the end, if I can take a picture, like a group picture.
I would love that.
Hey, why not now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it's picture break time.
That's right. Yeah, I'm getting closer in.
Buddy position, Donovan, smile or not.
Wait, I can't do it from my computer, so can I do it from my phone?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
It must be. That's what we were gonna say.
Did we get it? I want a picture too. How do you do it?
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay, Donovan.
Hi. Oh my God.
I know the internet's wacky for you today.
It is. It feels like maybe you again. I have a question too. First question. I know I know it was a movie that there. I know that you were in a movie portrayed as a slave. What was that experience like? And what was the name of that movie?
All right, I actually got that. You sent it to me. I know that you were in a movie portrayed as a slave. What was that experience like?
Oh, that's a great question. So I did a movie called Brother Future. And I'm sure you might be able to see it on YouTube, but I'm not sure. But what it was a time travel piece. And what happens is I'm a kid who doesn't care about his past. He just wants to kind of hustle. And it's, obviously make believe being time travel. But what happens is I get transported. I get hit by a car. I'm running across the street. I get hit by a car. And when I land, and wake up from being hit by the car, I'm in 1822, the year 1822 in Charleston, South Carolina. So if you, of course, know your history, in 1822 in Charleston, South Carolina, slavery existed. So I am immediately picked up by slave catchers and sold into slavery. So I did have to play a slave. And it's a great question, Donovan, because it was a really hard role to do because of the subject matter. So I did a lot of research on, I certainly, knew a lot and learned a lot about slavery in school, but I had to do more research about what it was like in that time period. It was 1822 Charleston. I meet an insurrectionist named Denmark Vesey. So I went and did research on Denmark Vesey. But it was, going home every night, I felt a sense of gratitude that that so many people before me had gone through such a horrible tragedy, but had worked so hard to get us to where we are today. And so I was filled with gratitude when I would be able to walk on the street and not be judged, and I was able to stay in a hotel in a nice room and have air conditioning, all of those things that we kind of take for granted. When I was working on that, they're kind of out of your head because you're really immersed in the character. But it also showed me that, in looking back on that piece, if we take that in what's happening now, we still have a ways to go. And, we want everyone to be treated equally, and we don't want people to be judged by either a disability or the color of their skin or their religion. Hopefully we'll have some leadership that will say, hey, we're all people and we're all here together. And for me, there is, I'm not a religious person, but one of the commandments is do unto others as you would have done unto you. And I really believe that. I think that you can go a long way with treating other people the way you would want to be treated. That's really kind of my motto. So if I'm walking up to a door, hey, I would love for someone to hold the door for me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to hold the door for that person. Or does someone need a hand with their bags? Hey, let me help you. It's just kind of being nice. But I say all that to say that too many people are judge us for what we look like, right? And I was never taught to do that. And so hopefully we're getting to a place where people aren't judging us for what we look like. That, as Martin Luther King said, people will judge us by the content of our character and not the color of our skin. And I can expound on that and say, and not because we may have a disability. Hopefully they will judge us for who we are. But I thank you for bringing that up, because it was we actually shot on we were on a real plantation, obviously not a working plantation, but they would do tours of the plantation. And we shot on a real plantation so we could see where the slave quarters were and where the master's house was. It was really interesting and kind of daunting at the same time. But thank you so much, Donovan, for watching that and asking about that.
And that's
Cool.
That's great. That's great.
Phill, that's what the documentary I did is about, judging people not based on their thing. So I took advantage of the time period. Like right now you're looking at me, you don't know I'm in a wheelchair, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm having this unique experience right now in quarantine that I'm meeting people and they don't know I'm in a wheelchair from the beginning. Wow. And so they're getting to know me as a person before they get to know me as a person in a wheelchair, which never happens. So we explored that in the doc. And that's when at the end, it's sort of like the thesis of it is, this is what we should be doing for everyone. We should be judging based on getting to know them before we say, oh, this is the black one, the gay one, the one in the wheelchair, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's fantastic. Love that.
Well, I have a question since we do have a Santina here, and Phill, we'll start with Santina. Same question to both of you.
Okay.
How do you center yourself? How do you keep positive?
Well, I have just always remind myself that whatever is happening will pass. I've been through all kinds of things in my life, and I still am here, and I still have good days. And I still have bad days, right? And both end. The good days end too, and the bad days end. So I try to just stay as present as I can, be in the moment. Hey, if something happens that makes me sad, I cry, I scream, whatever I need to do. Not scream at anybody, please. But I get my frustration out. I'm in therapy. I talk to my therapist. I do what I need to do to deal with what's happening. Let myself feel the feelings. And then you got to move on, right? You got to move on to the next thing. because there's so much around the corner, and one failure. I mean, look what I said. When I interviewed Phill so many years ago, there I was wishing that I was on the other side of that interview. And here I am right now on the other side of that interview, right alongside Phill. And I didn't know that back then. So if I went home sad and kicked myself for not being the one being interviewed, what a waste of my energy, because I ended up here anyway, you know? So just remember that nothing is permanent, and live in the moment, feel your feelings, and then just like move on to the next. And also take whatever you can control, because there's so much you can't control. Focus on that. So, you know, if you didn't get cast in that movie, that sucks. But you know what? Write a movie that you are the star of, that you can control.
That's fantastic. I mean, that I literally will piggyback on that. For me, it is about living in the present moment. I realized that there are two things that I cannot control: the past and the future. So what do I have? I have the present moment. And so that is what I think is extremely important. And I think it can be hard sometimes, like Santini's saying, you know, we all have good days and bad days. It's, for me, trying to make I try to live my life as a win-win. So if it's something that's bad, trying to find the good in that. Then I'm at a win-win. So if it's something that happens, then I can say, okay, I can learn from this experience. And because I've learned something from this experience, then I can try and turn it into a positive experience. And that makes my life a win-win. So it really is being in the moment. And my big catchphrase that my girls hear me say or catchword that my girls hear me say almost daily is gratitude. I am grateful every morning when I wake up. I have another 24 hours, right? When I wake up, I put one foot on the floor and I say thank, and I put the other foot on the floor and I say you. Thank you, because I have another day. And it's really a gift. I have another day. Now, granted, it may be a hard day, maybe things that I have to do throughout the day, but I'm grateful that I'm able to do those things. You know, I talked to a friend of mine, and he was talking about he has a huge dog, and the dog's kind of running amok, and the dog's always in the backyard messing up the backyard. And he says, and I'm out there cleaning up after the dog. And he was so upset that he was cleaning up after the dog. And I said, wait a second, think about it. How about being grateful that you have a dog? How about being grateful that you have a yard to clean up? Like, that's really great. Like, yeah, not everybody wants to clean up after their dog, but hey, I can go, wait a second, I have to look at the gratitude and be grateful. So the one thing that I ask myself is, am I happy because things are going right? Or are things going right because I'm happy? And that's what I have to ask myself. If I can stay happy, if I can stay in a good mood, things seem to go pretty well. So that's what I try to do. So capitalizing off what Santina said, really being in the present moment, and like she said, share those feelings when you don't feel, because you don't want to bottle stuff up. So share those feelings with someone if you're feeling in a negative space. Make sure you get them out.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a negative space and you're in, like, for instance, when I filmed my movie for the Disability Film Challenge, I Can, believe it or not, I was supposed to cry, and I couldn't cry because I was like so happy, so in the moment of being happy that I couldn't cry. And so I had to physically try to put myself in the space of sadness. So how do you do that when you're happy?
Santina, you may want to answer that because you're on that side of the camera more than I am, but I can chime in when you're done.
Well, I'll say that I too, Jennifer, have a hard time crying on command. It's not easy. And I had to cry for a movie once, and before my scene, I was locked myself in my room, and I put in my earphones and I listen to this song that reminds me of my stepdad that always makes me cry. And I'm like, I'm torturing myself right now. It's crazy. I'm like torturing myself. But I think the best thing to do is just really try to connect with the character. Just try, that's really what you can do, is try to really connect, put yourself into the character's shoes. If the script calls for crying, and there's obviously something going on with that character. And so, yeah, just try to, as much as you can, connect with the character in that moment, I think.
Yeah.
What about you, Phill? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's really hard. I can't do it either. I cannot do it. So you guys may remember the last episode of Sweet Life on Deck. So I'll tell you a little story about that. So what happened was, there's the moment where I have to say goodbye to Brenda, to London. And during rehearsal, the two of us we didn't really rehearse that moment. And we were both kind of afraid to get into that space, because it was we knew this was going to be the last time that we were going to do this together on this show. So we were both kind of afraid. So we would kind of brush it off. Okay, and this is when she says goodbye and I say goodbye and I answer the phone and it's her, and okay, and then we move on. Well, we had to actually do it for the network run through. So we had to actually perform it. And what you saw on camera is what happened in the network run through. When we got to that moment, and I'm getting choked up now. When we got to that moment, we both burst into tears, because we couldn't do the scene, and we just hugged each other, and there's 60 people standing around, but because we had built up such a relationship over about 7 years, we saw each other more than we were seeing some of our family members, that it was really hard to get through. And that's what happened when we actually shot it. We both burst into tears. So that was a connection, because we were so close to each other. And if I had to cry on camera again, I'd probably go back to that. I would probably think about that moment. But Santina did something that another actress that I worked with, I don't know if you guys ever saw a show called No Good Nick on Netflix. It's a neat show. It's kind of a fun show, but the young lady who played the lead in that show, she would put on headphones and listen to something that would just kind of get her in the mood. But believe me, no one expects you. And if a director says you have to cry, not really a director that's worth their weight in salt. No one expects you to get to a place emotionally if you can't do that. I would understand that. I would say, hey, like Santina's saying, if you feel the emotion of the character, that's enough. Physical tears, we could actually manufacture those. And there have been times where I've had manufactured tears where they blow a little menthol in your eyes, and you're able to cry. Your eyes start watering. So don't worry. What we're doing as actors is we're portraying the image of reality. We don't expect you to, you don't have to go as deep as you think you may. And it also happens the other way, where you're doing a comedy, but when we were doing Sweet Life, one of our dogs passed away. One of the girls' little doggies passed away. It was so sad, but I had to go to work and be funny. So it was like, it's just kind of dealing with it on a case by case basis. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you all for being here, for coming today. Ranjani and BJ and Donovan. And Ashley, and thank you, Santina, for showing up.
What a surprise!
It was
One day at a time.
Yeah, it was so cool.
And of course, Phill Lewis.
Must be naked.
Okay, so I'm old, but can someone tell me how to take a picture? Can I take a picture of all of us together?
Sure.
Do I have to do it on my phone?
Well, you could do it on your phone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll do that.
Count of three.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Bye.